good morning. Thank you all for joining us on our special Thursday. Today's May 9th, and we are doing another really great discussion here at the Summit School with Dr. McCarthy. So thank you once again for having us here. We are meeting now because they came to us with this phrase. It's called summer slide, and I kind of gave a, huh? What's that? And it's something.
A new dance.
Yeah, seriously, that's kind of what it sounds like. Something you play at a wedding. So I was intrigued because it was something I didn't know what it was. It turns out that the average kid, it affects the average kid, and again, it's not something at the playground that affects the average kid. So I would love if you could just start me off slow and really explain, like, what is summer slide, and give me the basic definition, and then we're going to go from there.
So summer slide means that when children have that lovely 8 to 10 weeks summer vacation, which we as educators just love.
Of course.
Not that we're not working, but we just love it, and so do the kids. They do lose some skills.
Okay.
Because math and reading are skills that you exercise and practice every day, just like riding a bike. And so when children go for summer break and don't have any type of enrichment or practice of the things that are fresh in their mind from the school year, the skills slide. So research has shown that students lose up to 2.5 months of math and about 2 months of reading skill over the summer. That's just the typical student. So that's why when kids go back to school, typically September and maybe part of October is a lot of review. And then things get amped up and things get more difficult. So that's why children may complain to their moms, we did that last year. Well, there's a reason why the teacher is reviewing. But then you have children who struggle in school. So if you can imagine that typical learners slide, the children who hang on tenuously to the skills and things that they're taught with a lot of practice, a lot of multisensory interactive learning and teaching. Can you imagine without some type of practice and learning during the summer, that 2-month slide or 2.5-month slide for typical learners, it could be 6 months, could be more. And so when our learners come back to us, we are very, very careful in understanding what have they retained and what do we need to do to get them back up to snuff very quickly, because our learners have to make more than a year's gain in 1 year.
Yeah, and I can imagine that's frustrating for a child who puts so much effort in their schoolwork, in their homework throughout the school year, and then just through not using it, coming back into the new year thinking, cool, I got this, and then, having that delay. I can imagine that's just really difficult.
So here's an interesting factoid. By 9th grade, 2/3 of the reading achievement gap, meaning the gap between those who are reading on target and those who are lagging behind, that 2/3 of that gap can be explained by lack of summer access to learning.
Really?
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's compelling. That's really compelling.
And when you say access to summer learning, can you kind of expand on that? What does that mean? Are you looking at summer school? Is this a program? Or libraries, like what?
It depends on the child.
Okay.
For the typical learner, making sure the children are reading several times a week, picking books to read, reading with parents, having family reads, doing a summer reading program. So a lot of times the library for younger kids and for middle school kids have book clubs. So that's important. Doing things with math. Not necessarily sit down and do a worksheet, because if I were a child in summer, my mother necessarily came with a whole packet of worksheets, I might say, maybe not. But you do things like, let's go to the grocery store, look at the price of this, and oh my goodness, what's the difference between those two prices? What's the unit price? And having children do those kinds of things in real life. Or, oh my goodness, I need gas. And we're going to grandma's house, and grandma lives 200 miles away. How much gas do I need? How much gas do I burn? So those kinds of things for the typical learner that they have had all year long, but do it a lot. Do it all the time. Thinking about a movie that's coming up. I want to see that movie. Let's read the book first, and let's talk about the characters. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
But for children who struggle with learning, they need a little bit more.
Okay.
They need a little bit more. So tutoring is really helpful. If there are summer academic programs in the school system, that would be very, very helpful. Or other programs that offer an academic setting at least for part of the day, where there's a concentration on reading, on math, and on writing and oral expression, and then the rest of the day is fun. So for typical learners, there's a lot of things you can do that will keep them pace, or at least will keep the skills intact. But for children who are struggling learners, you need more explicit, more definitive kind of work during the summer to make sure there's no slide.
Okay, wonderful. And I know that a lot in this area, of course, there's a lot of different camp programs, and I believe some of them are academic based, and Camp Summit is one of them, correct? So is that a typical day where they focus, on the writing and the reading and the math skills, but with fun thrown in too, right? Because the whole work and play, jacked up, whatever that phrase is.
Mom, really? You make me go to school over the summer?
That too, yeah.
That won't fly. So we have different opportunities for kids depending upon what they need. So Camp Summit is a month long. For example, a month long academic camp where in the morning the children get an hour of math, an hour of reading, an hour of expression, which could be oral or written. And we group the kids according to age and skills.
Okay.
So that we want to make sure that in a small group of children, we can target the skills that they need to at least maintain what they learned over the school year. And for many kids, we bump them up a little bit.
Nice.
So that's in reading, that's in math, and that's in oral and written language. And a lot of it is game-based. There's not drill and kill.
Okay.
It's covered drill and kill with games.
Well,
kids don't even realize it. What'd you do? Oh, I play games. That's great, And so that happens in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the kids have fun. So there's some things, cooking with chemistry. Well, they're learning science, but they don't realize it. Or STEM activities, and they don't realize that they're learning engineering, design process, but they're having fun. Or there's just plain going swimming, or or doing art projects. So it's a nice balance. So if a parent can find programs like that for their children, where the children are understood in terms of what are their skills beginning camp, so that they can be placed appropriately, and then how do they progress, that would be really important. And then we also offer some opportunities for kids to help with their writing. So middle school children, we say, your writing needs work. Here's a process that can help you. And then parents, I know, there are many children whose skills for organization are bereft. Is the bane of your existence. You open the door to their room and you say, oh my goodness, and you just close the door. So for those children, we call that difficulties with executive functions. We offer a week-long camp, a half-day camp, and the children learn how to be organized in school, how to set up systems, and then there's 2 sessions during the beginning of the school year for our teacher, the teacher of that camp, to check in with students to say, how are you doing? How are you keeping yourself organized? How are you doing timelines? What are you doing on your calendar? Because to learn it in the summer is great. But then in the real world, to help kids really implement it in the moment in school is really important.
And that brings it right back to what you were saying about using the grocery store, using gas, and just real world situations. As a parent, I have a question too. How would a parent know the progress that their child is making? I'm assuming you don't take grades, or you don't grade things in any of these academic camps. So is there a way to keep track of their progress,
so in the week-long camps, you can't physically possibly do progress, but the parent knows what the child is learning, and so there'll be some products that the child comes home with from the beginning to the end. But for the Camp Summit, we do understand where the child is, and there'll be a very overview progress report, so parent will know what the child learned and approximately where they ended up in those learning targets.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what are other, so another term, I was looking at my notes here. So summer slide, there's another term for it, which is summer learning loss, correct? Okay,
correct.
So they're synonymous.
Pretty much the same.
And so there's just a lot of really great programs, Camp Summit, of course, being one of them. I know that on ChesapeakeFamily.com we have tons of different camp programs, and if you are a subscriber to our e-newsletter, we are sending out just lots of different camp programs. And with STEAM and STEM being such great buzzwords. Like, I don't want to use that term buzzword as a negative, but I just know so many camp programs really encompass all of that, and it really is a nice...
Keep children busy.
Yes, keep them busy, exactly.
Keep them busy, and if you keep them busy and learning at the same time, that's a double win.
Absolutely.
Right?
So,
and then mom has some time, that's a trifecta.
That's right. Are there other resources? I mean, my son Ben was just asking about, he wants to play a game on the computer. It's like, so, app-based games, is that considered another resource? Like things that they are doing in school? And
it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
A lot of the games, the apps that the kids like to play, and they like to play online with each other, there's a lot of good thinking that goes into
first
some
math,
of it.
it's something math-related that he wants.
Yeah. So it's great, but for some children, the online play can become addictive.
Okay.
So you have to be careful to moderate their time online, because you really do want kids playing outside and talking with kids. So while you get some really good thinking, for some kids it can be problematic. So parents know you do have to modulate their time online, and then you always have to talk about, if you don't know that person, do not give them any information.
Right.
And children say, yes, I understand, but they still do it. So that's something
I think that should be our next conversation, our next
Yeah,
discussion, then
yeah.
online safety, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's just, it's really great that there are so many different ways that you can help your kid, and just to make sure that they're, continuing with this, you work so hard, we all work so hard to help with the kids, the teachers, the parents, the community, just to be able to, and we're all so proud of their progress. So the idea to not lose it over the summer, I think, is huge, and it's really great that you are here and that there are resources available to anyone. So if you have any questions, truthfully, you can always comment here on our Facebook page, and we will pass them along to Dr. McCarthy. And we can always see if there's something that we can answer as well. If you are looking for a specific camp program, whether it's an academic one or a STEAM-based one, we can send you in that right direction. And I just want to say thank you again for taking the time and, educating me on something that I may not, I'm proud of my kids, and I feel like their grades are really great, but now kind of having this little extra just awareness on the summertime that, yes, I want them to play, but also, hey, like you said, movies coming out, let's read. My kids are really into the Harry Potter books. And so, like, let's read that first before we see the movie. And
exactly.
It's just really wonderful. So thank you again. It's nice to be here as always. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.